Hey, what's up, guys? This is Garrett Shackelford, the host of the GuideTech Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Logan Meaux, CEO and founder of Mallard Bay. Logan, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, doing well. Back in the
Good.
office. Got to take the weekend off, so that was enjoyable. But no, I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm just happy to see you, Garrett, and just get to talk marketing and
yeah, for
and
sure.
and outfitters and hunting.
Yeah, definitely, man. So I know you went on a ski trip, but there was a huge, and just for those that are listening to this after, we posted and stuff, there was a huge Arctic front that came through all of pretty much America, and you were up in the mountains. And so how was that?
Yeah, I will be honest. I did see some Canada geese in Denver. There was a bunch of them, but it was cold as hell. Like it was on the first day we were there, it was like -8 or something.
Oh my gosh.
And there ended up being like 3 feet of snow trying to get back. So it took us yesterday from no, day before yesterday. I had to stay an extra day, but it took us 6 hours to get from Keystone to the airport. So if
Golly.
that gives you any indication of how slow we were going and how bad it was terrible. But
Yeah.
there was not a lot of birds around, so that means they're all hopefully on my farm in South Louisiana. At least that's what I
Yeah.
hope. But I don't
No,
think the
I
report's
bet
been
they
that
are.
great either.
Yeah, I mean, even
There's
for
more
me,
than there
honestly.
has been.
Yeah. Yeah. Even for me, man, like the property that I live on, we're not known for having a waterfowl here in Central Texas, but we honestly, our ponds where I never see ducks on them, they're actually chock loaded with ducks, but they ended up freezing over. So I'm sure people will be
Oh,
enjoying a reverse migration after the thaw. To be honest, as they move back up,
I bet
I don't
so.
predict that they're going to stay at your farm for too long, so you might as well capitalize on it while they're there. Um, but yeah, man, the when you were up in Colorado, were you like staying at a lodge or Airbnb or something?
It was yeah, like the local little ski lodge town that's like right at the bottom of the mountain. I'm a snowboarder. I can do both, but the snowboarding was, and dude, my legs are killing me.
I
Like it
bet.
is not for the faint of heart. Like you got to be in pretty decent shape.
Yes.
Um, so
Oh,
my
that's
legs
not
are
me.
feeling it, but now it's not too bad. I've been happy to get back to work and just get my hands dirty. I love taking time off, but at the same time, it's like, it takes so much time to get back up to speed that you feel like you're playing catch up for multiple days. I'm sure outfitters understand the same thing. It's like, whenever you get to take some time off, if you're lucky, the
Yeah.
the the time it takes to catch back up is almost like, oh, was that really worth it? But you have to have those things. Like, if we didn't ever take
Definitely.
time off, then, we wouldn't have enough energy, good service, right?
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
the topics for today that I picked for us to discuss, um, one of the things that uh, kind of goes along with like the little things, like
Hmm.
doing the little things right
Right.
for an outfitter, especially in the early days, and the ones that are the best of the best get the little things right 100% of the time, which makes them the best, right? But
Right.
I wanted to talk about the little things that you don't think about, that just I've noticed. Maybe they're a little bit nitpicky, but if I'm going to a lodge as a client, and as someone who's sometimes vetting these outfitters, yeah, I'm gonna nitpick for good reason, because I want customers that go to that outfitter to have the best experience, and then also those outfitters that need the feedback to get the feedback. Because the worst thing you can do, especially in business, is not take any feedback at all. So I
Exactly.
guess my question to you, Garrett, would be, what's a couple little things that you've noticed younger outfitters, so we'll just
Hmm.
talk about younger outfitters in general, younger outfitters that are getting wrong, that can easily be fixed. These are things that can be easily fixed, that you're probably just not paying enough attention to.
Yeah, man. Well, first off, just for background sake, not only are we traveling and getting to hunt with these outfitters, but we send sportsmen out to them, and we're getting that client feedback from them. And rarely is it ever about the actual hunting. But I think going off of that, these young guides, as me and you have talked about, they focus so much on the hunting, and they tend to nail the hunting, right? They have access to properties that you know they're successful on, and they have that drive and
Yeah.
that idea that, hey,
Hmm.
if I
The
can kill
young,
birds, I can.
hungry. Yeah.
Exactly. If I can kill birds, I can make a business. I love this, and so they get started in that sense, but they don't understand the hosting side of it. And for me as a believer in Christ, like He calls us to be good hosts, and so you have to truly understand what all that means and like entails. And there's very small details, like you said, and so honestly, off the cuff, just thinking about it, there's it's one a communication thing, like making sure that you're communicating well with your clients. Super easy to do. We all have phones in our pockets, and also for those that use GuideTech, their app allows them to like directly message their clients after they book, or before they book, so that they can set those expectations. And so really the biggest thing I think is setting expectations for this trip that someone's about to go on, and making sure you're very clear about those things. If you're not a
Hmm.
five-star resort, don't tell people you're a five-star resort or a five-star outfitter. You need to know truly where you fit in. Like you have to know what kind of outfitter
Hmm.
you are, and nothing's wrong with being,
Yeah.
just showing up and hunting during the day and then going to an Airbnb or hotel after, and there's no other services. There's nothing wrong with that. It just needs to be clearly explained to those
Hmm.
clients, but then also meeting expectations once clients get there. Because honestly,
Hmm.
that's like, I think the biggest thing that we get complaints about is missed expectations, where people say like, we are a five-star outfitter, and so people are expecting five-star meals, and it's the whole service kind of thing. And so
Hmm.
they're missing those expectations because they're serving meals that aren't right, or things like towels, like you had mentioned in our conversation, where
Yeah.
it's worse than a hotel towel. It doesn't fully wrap around the guy's body or whatever it might be, or it feels like he's sanding his skin off while he's drying himself off, like those small details. But those are some like right off the cuff that I think of, and I want to hear
Yeah.
some of yours, because I know you live with Wyatt, who is our customer service guy, so
Yeah.
he's taking care of and hearing these things, and you've honestly spent more time in lodges than I have, and so I'd like to hear some of the things that you have for them, and then we can kind of go back and forth on it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that and I use the example of one ply toilet paper as like an example, but because it's such a little thing and
Yeah.
it is a very, very cheap investment, like
Yes.
that's just an example, right? But let's use another example. Uh, in order to make your lodge more comfortable and to invest in your business, you know, what about mattress toppers? Like, right? Like, I mean, it's one of
Yeah.
those things that, like, look, I've had a 3-inch memory foam mattress topper on my bed since I was a freshman in college, right?
Right.
The last thing you want to do is have someone come in the first night and not get a good night's sleep. And then, okay,
Right.
the hunting is okay. All right, now you're behind the 8 ball. Okay. Not only
Yes.
did the person not get a good night's sleep, but what if the meal was ready late? Like, what if it wasn't ready till 9? It just something happened, and you start to see how these little things stack up to becoming
Yes.
okay. Well, they had a great hunt the second day. Okay, they limited out. But if you as an outfitter think the job is done because you got them one limit on the second day, but these other things are going wrong, that they're not these aren't things that they talk about. They're not going to tell you
Mhm.
that. They tell us this, right?
Yeah.
And you're lucky if the sportsman has the confidence. And sometimes, I mean, I don't want to use the word arrogance, but sometimes they're just dicks. Like we all know clients, like it is what it is. Like you're
Yeah.
there to provide a service, and some people just aren't nice. And that's why one day we'll have a rating system for both sides of the marketplace. But aside from the point, it's this mentality of okay, all I have to do is put them on a good hunt one day, and then the rest of the trip doesn't matter. When that's far from the reality, and there's a lot of pressure on outfitters to deliver on the first morning, the first day. But if you can do anything, like anything at all, to relieve that pressure, which means getting the very simple little things right, so that way when the weather fucks you over, so to speak, that
Yeah.
they don't have all these other things to stack up on top of why they don't want to come back, or because ultimately what that's going to result in is them telling other people not to go to you as an outfitter. And it may
100%.
have had nothing to do with the hunting, because there is a difference between a 5-star lodge and 5-star hunting. You
Okay.
can provide 5-star hunting, but you can't provide 5-star hunting in price like you're a 5-star lodge and then expect them to be happy with 5-star hunting in a
That's good.
3-star lodge. Okay. Like that's the conundrum that we're talking about here. And that's why younger outfitters get a bad rap. They're great freaking hunters,
Right.
but they haven't learned the little things and haven't got those things right quite yet. So unfortunately, it causes younger outfitters to get a bad rap. And we have outfitters that are like, well, we don't want to work with you if you're working with XYZ young outfitter. But at the same time, we want them to be better, just like they
Yes.
want to get better, right? But there's those outfitters that will always be uh, not willing to improve. But that's business. It becomes a business thing, a fundamental business issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like that goes back to our last podcast. And if you didn't listen to it, go back and check it out where we talk about that change and looking for different opportunities where you can change and adapt within the industry, whether that's marketing or your actual services. And these little things we're talking about, they are making changes and deciding to do that and hear that feedback. Um, I think too, like when I look at like successful outfitters who have been around for a long time, they're getting these little things right, but the hunting's not always perfect for anybody. It's so weather dependent that that can be out of your control. You can put a line of effort in and hope for the best, but I think like those guys have such repeat clientele, and so as a young outfitter, you need to truly understand. If you've been around for 2-3 years, you need to start understanding your numbers on how many people are rebooking with me, and that will start to tell you and clarify for you, maybe where am I missing the mark? If you're providing really good hunts and people are saying, hey, you're providing a great hunt, and they're smiling when they're out in the field, but then they're not rebooking with you, there's something wrong outside of that. And so look at your rebook rate, because these guys have been around for a while, depending on their destination. Some of these guys are, a destination specific hunt, so it affects them differently, like, those Northern Canada outfits and stuff. But most of them are looking at 80 to 90% rebook rates, and some north of 90%. And so if you're in the 20s and the 30s, you need to reassess and look at it, go, okay, what is it that's happening? And beyond that too, I'd like to say, like, on the marketing side of stuff, and honestly relationship building, which is a lot of what this industry is on both ends, on our side and for the outfitter to their clients. But um, you know as a host, you're meant to be hospitable. You're hosting these guys, like when they're in the blind, like making sure your attitude is in check, making sure that if the day sucked for hunting,
Mm.
you're at least the entertainment. That's what you are. You are the center of attention out in that field. If the hunt is not going well, you're guiding and commanding that trip. And so making sure that, like, you're just upbeat, making jokes, stuff like that. Getting to know the people is huge. Spending time with them in the lodge after it and being personable and hospitable towards them. And then when they leave the field, one of the biggest things I've noticed with outfitters that have a huge rebook rate, they become friends with their clients. They're there to, like, actually, like, wish them a
Hmm.
happy birthday, as silly as it sounds. Like, text them on their birthday, like, know that information. If they have a kid, tell them congratulations, like, build that relationship. And that, I think, is one little thing that you could do that goes a long way. And it goes back to that communication, like, pick up your phone and text that person, whether it's through the GuideTech app
Hmm.
or just messaging on a social media platform. So I
Yeah.
think that, like, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I think it segues into our next topic that we were going to talk about. Once you start nailing down these little
Hmm.
things, and that's talking about raising your prices, especially going into 2024. So, Logan, want to hear your thoughts on
Hmm.
that, on when an outfitter should consider
Hmm.
raising their prices, and I think it's this year. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, one more thought on the last topic.
Mhm.
The point of contact for your hunt, or call it the group leader,
Mhm.
may not be the person booking the hunt next year. So remember that
Right.
when you're thinking about communicating with the groups that you have there.
Mhm.
Even just talking with Hunter at Whiskey Switch the other day is, the leader of the group was being an asshole, but two people in the group decided, hey, we're going to come back next year, and they already texted Hunter about it, right? But he wouldn't have known if he
Awesome.
wasn't communicating with those other people in the group. So, that's
Exactly.
just a nuance there to think about. But
No, that's a
okay,
good point.
so the raising your prices thing is something that I actually learned from a really successful outfitter that's not one of our outfitters, but Salt Plains. Uh, and I hope we do land them one day as a client. But he was talking to me, and they have phenomenal hunting, 5-star lodge, like top notch, right? Um,
Right.
and we were having lunch in Houston, and he told me the way they grow their business. And I didn't think about this from an outfitter's perspective, but there's two ways you can grow your business. You can charge the same amount of money and bring more clients, which requires more land and more resources, more guides, right? Or
Right.
think about inflation. I mean, if you haven't raised your prices in the last 3 years, I mean, you're
Yeah.
getting hosed just on inflation alone. Like,
Yes.
you know, I get that it's not palatable for every person that has ever gone with you to, not be paying the same price year over year. But they also understand that business is business. And if they want to
Mhm.
go, they're going to pay what it costs. And you set that.
Right.
You, as the outfitter and the business owner, decide how much, and we'll get into this in other episodes, but like the margins that you're making and
Yeah.
how to make sure that you're profiting and being able to sustain a living and not just making ends meet because ultimately that's what you're probably doing for the first 5 years, right? Um,
Right.
it it really is just another way to grow your business. It's a challenge the way you're thinking. Back to the first episode, like challenge the way you're thinking about it and consider raising your prices by 5, 10, 15% because
Mhm.
the market is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like they're your clientele are typically going to be more discretionary spenders, especially if you're
Yes.
providing meals and lodging. So ultimately, you do have that price elasticity, you know, from an economics perspective, like that price elasticity, the supply and demand. You are the supply, they are the demand, and there's an equilibrium price point that you have
Yeah.
to meet at. But if that equilibrium price point moves up, but you don't move your price up, then yes, they may feel like they're getting a good deal, but you got to think about all of the rest of your competition, right? And if they're making more money than you, or they're running a more profitable business, they may be more successful, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's just one example. It's not like I'm not saying that that's how it is all the time, but it's just one thing you should consider in 2024 is, hey, maybe I should look at my pricing because ultimately, like, there's a price to what we do. Like, there's a cost associated with what we do. We don't do what we do for free, right? But there's creative ways in which you can invest in your business. And that's what we're talking about. And changing your pricing and investing in the business, investing in the little things, whether it be comforters, mattress toppers, nice sheets, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Right. That's all I want to communicate. Right. It's just, hey, consider it. Give yourself that option because if you just shut yourself off to that and don't even consider it, then you never had a chance. Right.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think too, like to that point, like I was actually with an outfitter who he does have an, it's insane. It's the highest rebook rate I've heard, but it was a 98% rebook rate. And, um, we actually were talking to him about this exact topic, like raising your prices. When do you think about doing that? And we were suggesting that he raise his price about 10%. And with that, he was skeptical to it, and understandably so, because you have this repeat clientele, and you think about grandfathered in pricing and stuff. And so we actually asked the group who's been going for 5 years now and hunting with him, hey, come over here and let's talk about this. And we said, hey, if he rose his price 10%, this was X, how much it would cost for your group. Would y'all still consider coming here? And they said absolutely. The service is enough,
Hmm.
if you're not providing that value, you're going to have a hard time raising your prices if you're not providing
Yeah.
value, of course. But if you've gotten these little things right that we previously talked about, and like you said, these people have normally more expendable income that are hunting at these 5-star lodges, or just honestly hunting in general. People tend to have more expendable income when they're doing this. They understand business. They've been around the block. They understand inflation. They see it in everything else that they're buying, and every other business that they're working with. So they get
Hmm.
it, and they appreciate you. And if you built that friendship and understanding, why wouldn't they want to support you during that time, making sure that you're meeting what your needs and your business needs? But I do think there's a practical way. So if you are an outfitter that or a fishing charter that is thinking about raising your prices, I just want to. I'll make an Instagram post about it and an actual video with a written example that you can see. But I just want to talk through the concept real quick, so it's a little bit more practical, and it can kind of
Hmm.
get your where you're starting to think about it. But I'll use simple numbers for an example. But the idea is to downsell the upsell. Okay, and so let's say you're an outfitter and you're charging $1,000 for a package, just for easy numbers, and you're wanting to truly get to a $1,500 package. The idea is that you would actually price yourself up front when you first talk to this client at $2,000 a day. Now, if they have problems with that or anything, then there's now room to adjust. And so now you could downsell your upsell. You've created a $1,000 gap where you can actually work. And if you're trying to get that 1,500, I guess it's a $500 gap. So you have two options here, and that is one, let's split it up into a deposit, like our industry already traditionally does. You're doing a 50% deposit.
Hmm.
It's if for this new $2,000 price, it's $1,000 up front, $1,000 a couple days before you get here
Hmm.
um, to complete your payment. Or now what we can do to get capital up front for you is say, hey, let's pay in full at $1,500 today. So they now think they're saving $500. And if they're still hesitant, throw in a guarantee. Say, I don't know
Hmm.
exactly what your outfitter guarantee would be, but hey, if you pay up front, I can guarantee you that, we're going to have this X experience.
Hmm.
And, if you don't get that, I don't expect you to pay a deposit next year. You'll pay the other 50%.
Yeah.
And so if you provide that kind of service, I think you can throw in that guarantee. So that's just one way to think about it. And I'll create a more detailed example where
Yeah.
I walk through different numbers, so we can get it posted on Instagram and on different platforms so that everyone can
Yeah.
see the thought process on that. But yeah, that's
That's
kind of my thoughts on it.
great. That's a great point to make. And a lot of it goes into like offer creation, which I
Yeah,
think it should be the next topic of the podcast is just us talking about creating offers because
yeah,
we've learned so much about it, and I've always felt that an outfitter's offer can be more creative than it's been in the past. Like it doesn't have to just be all inclusive per person per day. Like
yes,
there's different things with
yes,
discounts and limited time offers and certain dates that can be packaged together to
100%.
make your business more profitable. Like that's what we're here to do, right? Like
Yeah,
we're here to just, hey, like, let's start talking about the profitability of an outfitter business. Like, there's going to be people that, have never turned a profit and they're doing it just as a lifestyle business. And there's some
right.
dudes that, are stacking cash away every year. And, those are the most
Yeah,
successful and the best outfitters because they're able to reinvest in their business. They're able to, afford the marketing things that can help you build
yeah,
legacy and build brand and really kind of make that leap from what we'll call an emerging outfitter to an established player, and then going from an established player to a market shaper. Like it's a gradual process. You can't just go from an emerging outfitter to the biggest baddest 5-star lodge in
exactly.
1 year. You may dream that. It's totally fine to have that dream, but business is business, and the reality is it all takes time. It's about time in the market. It's about doing the little things right over and over again in order to achieve the financial freedom that you're trying to achieve with your business, right? And
Yeah,
ultimately, I'm just glad we're here talking about it because, like,
yeah,
one, I don't think anybody in the industry is talking about this stuff, and two, it really does provide the value that we're looking to provide. Is, you know, let's talk about the things that, you may be thinking, but no one's been like, yes, you're thinking about that right. Like, we're here to give affirmation on the things you're doing right, and, on the things you're doing wrong that you may need to stop doing. Right. And, that's all,
Right.
that's what and then accountability, right? In the sportsman, the customers will always hold everyone accountable, whether it's
Yes, they
us
will.
or you as the outfitter. Right. And so,
100%.
ultimately, that's the name of the game, right? That's what GuideTech was built for. Is, we're changing the industry for the better, and some of these things just need to be talked about. And so, hell yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
100%.
if
And I
you had
think,
anything else you wanted to add.
no, I mean, honestly, like, I think we can get to wrapping this up, but I just want to say, like, on the podcast to come, like, one, I'm stoked to talk about creating offers, because I do think it kind of breaks down that traditional approach to this industry. There's so many people that just, they see what the other guy was doing that they worked for in the past, or hey, I'm starting an outfitter, I'm going to go do some research, and everyone's doing things the same way. And there's so much opportunity out there, especially for these young guys that are looking to grow a business, to say, hey, what are other industries doing, or what are these big guys doing that I can mimic? And those steps, just like you said, it takes time, but there are legitimate steps you can take to start scaling your outfitter. It's going to take time. It's going to take a ton of effort too. Like, it's not just press play or anything like that, but there are so many different topics we'll get to cover to help walk them through growing. And honestly, if you are a young outfitter, or you're an outfitter that's been around the block for a long time, like, we'd love to just get you on a demo and talk to you about GuideTech, our services that we do provide for you, our software, just to make all this a little bit easier. And like you said, have that accountability and that partner that's there. And these times that we could honestly meet and just spitball ideas with you. So we'd love to partner with you in that and help grow this industry as a whole, and ultimately get more people outdoors with you. And so, yeah, if wherever you're listening to this podcast, we'd love it if you would subscribe and share this podcast. That way it can get out in front of as many people, because our ultimate goal is to, help as many outfitters as possible and grow that hunting and fishing industry. And so that's all we got for today, guys. So stick around and listen.
Stick around and listen. Keep listening to the podcast, guys.
Just
That's
keep
what Garrett was trying to say. He's good.
re-listen
He just
over and over.
he just frees up every now and then. It's all good.
Yeah,
just put it on repeat in your car and just listen over it.
yeah.
Oh
Just
God.
don't stop.
But
No.
but to to your point, like, I think the call to action that I would kind of follow up with is, what do you want us to talk about? What do you think we know that you want to
Sure.
know? Whether I don't care if it's about building a startup, like raising money, like, that's what I do. That's what I've learned to do. And, this is the only reason we're here is because we have investors that are supporting us in the mission of, collaborating with reputable guides and sharing their experiences. So, like, ultimately, if you want us to just talk about general business, leave a comment, you know, whatever you think you need help with, just ask. And, we also appreciate if you left us a review, 5-star, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That would also be appreciated.
Much appreciated. Yes, for sure. So if you felt like this podcast helped you out, or it helped someone else out, please just share it and leave that review like Logan asked. And we'll see you next time when we're talking about offers for outfitters and fishing charters. Thank y'all for sticking around and listening.